I've played many different Pokemon games in all kinds of ROM hacks, ranging from extreme hardcore mode nuzlockes like Radical Red, to casual runs, meme hacks in plot driven ones, enhancement hacks in fan-made regions. But out of all the games I've played, the Pokemon ROM hack, Pokemon Emerald R.O.W.E, is one of the best I've ever had the enjoyment of playing, being a very obscure ROM hack that most people have never even heard of. It's an expansive open world version of Pokemon Emerald with many incredible changes, unique innovations and amazingly fun customization and replay value, making the popular ROM hack Crystal Clear look bad in comparison. This is not your typical enhancement or Drayano ROM hack. Emerald R.O.W.E is a true open world role playing game that is a complete game changer and truly made me feel like I was playing a Pokemon version of Elder Scrolls Skyrim and Fallout 4. This game is an underrated gem, and here's why. So strap yourself in for an in-depth video analysis of this game. This is more than just a bog standard review. I'll be going over the features, explaining what works and what could have been a bit better, making comparisons to other games such as Fallout and Elder Scrolls and other ROM hacks, and talk about game design in general as a concept. I'll also make some recommendations for the best ways to go about nuzlocking this game, if that's what you're into. So first of all, what features does Pokemon Emerald R.O.W.E have? Well, firstly, the main attraction is that it's a fully open world version of Emerald. A non-linear mod with almost no limits or boundaries. You can go pretty much anywhere on the Hoenn map straight away and do all the gyms in any order you want. The objective is to beat the gyms, then go to Victory Road and finish the game, which opens up afterwards. Unlike any other Pokemon game, this has no real direction to it, which is actually an excellent idea this time around. Combined with the huge amount of customization there is when starting your playthrough. As the game starts and you click a new game, there are so many options for you to choose from. Firstly, create your character, then select your starter Pokemon, of which there's a pretty large choice of unique mons to pick. Or you can pick any random first stage mon as your starter, which makes things really interesting, not knowing what you'll get. It's really fun for nuzlocking as you can receive anything as your starter, ranging from Zangoose to Grossifleur from Gen 8, which is here by the way. I never actually knew this mon existed, which is kind of funny. Yes, all 8 generations are here, did I mention that? There's a lot of Pokemon. You can even Wonder Trade your starter straight away if you didn't like what you got, giving huge replay value. Then after that, you can select which game mode you'll be activating before starting your run. With so many big choices, there's an official no EV mode, and thank God for that, removing all EV values from the game in general, because the nuzlocking community understands how tedious EVs are as a mechanic. Get rid of that. No IV mode, making every Pokemon in the game, including the AI, have perfect IVs. Good if you want an even playing field with the AI and remove some annoying RNG. There's some impactful wacky modes also, like inverse type chart mode, basically inverting the type chart for move effectiveness, permanent double battle mode making everything double battle, randomizer mode, a unique mode called no evolution mode, basically making it so every Pokemon in the game is powered down to their base form from the start of the game all the way to the champion. And there's also a no physical special split mode. These modes are very interesting and put really unique spins on the game. And then there's other stuff like vanilla mode, and thank God for this option. Emerald R.O.W.E is yet another one of those ROM hacks that make really significant changes to the pre-existing Pokemon, stats, movesets, and move effects, and more. Some people love these big changes like in Drayano and Vintage White, but others don't, as you're essentially having to relearn the entire Pokedex, which is understandable. But with vanilla mode, you could just remove all of these stat changes, allowing you to use the same old vanilla mons from the base games. Keep in mind that move changes and learn sets and certain ability changes are still there even in vanilla mode, but at least makes things way less overwhelming to learn. Having this choice is an awesome thing to have, really. Then the final mode that I really like is levelless mode, which I recommend if you want to nuzlocke this game. Like Crystal Clear or Radical Red, this game has a hard level cap system, where the cap is determined by the number of badges you have. Once you hit the cap, you stop gaining XP. Naturally, you will grind usually until you reach a level cap when it comes up. But levelless mode actually changes this. Levelless mode makes it so every single Pokemon in the game will have its stats automatically set to as if it were at the level cap, regardless of its stat level. For example, the first level cap when you start the game is level 16 for the first gym badge. Every Mon in this game with levelless mode on, be it a level 3 Zubat or a level 10 Cuffant, will automatically have their stats set to the maximum that they could be within the level cap, essentially making every Mon in the game have equalized levels, basically. This game mode is awesome as it basically removes the need for excessive grinding. Your Mons will not gain any stats when you level up, but you'll still need to gain some levels for evolutions and new moves, but it removes the pressure from having to continuously level grind. Once you do get a new gym badge and the level cap gets increased, every Mon in the game will have its stats increased to the point as if it were at the next level cap, so the game takes care of itself stat wise. These are a huge amount of features, and all these game modes, they affect the game massively, automatically warranting extra playthroughs and just creating a lot of replay value. But we're only getting started here, because after this there's all the menu options too, such as picking which generation of battle music you want for the fights, and oh baby, this is pretty sick. Even in games like Final Fantasy VII, which has one of the best battle themes ever, it still gets boring after a while listening to the same song over and over again. If only there were multiple battle themes. Well, in Emerald R.O.W.E, you can pick from 4 different generations to break up the monotony. Speaking of changing generations, you can actually pick your costumes now. That's right, this game figured out how to do this feature even better than Game Freak did. Just think about that. Then, after that, you can pick your difficulty mode. Another nice option to have, but realistically, unless you really suck at Pokemon, there's never any reason not to just pick hard mode, as you will see later on. Once we have this all set up, we get our last huge choice before starting. Which town do we spawn in? This greatly changes how each run will play out, and also affects how hard early game will be for you, which you can choose. Early game is all about starting your run and scrounging up enough resources such as items, TMs and encounters to build a team so you won't get automatically wiped by the trainers you fight early game. The easiest option to start a Nuzlocke is to be strategic and start your run in Mauville City, the centre of the map, which is a big crossroad with many branching paths in many areas that open up straight away, giving you a lot of resources and encounters to start your run. However, you can also choose to start your run in Sootopolis City if you want, but if you do, be ready for an extra challenge as there's not a lot of encounters there readily available, and if you want to get more encounters you'll have to start venturing further out into the world and beat some trainers first, which might be a bit of a challenge with not that many encounters to go with. This feature is actually incredibly good and so well done, and even then, there's so much more to talk about. If you played Pokemon Crystal Clear, then you'll be familiar with the concept of the game once it starts. You can basically travel anywhere instantly, and you have to beat the gym leaders. They scale in power with the number of badges you have until Victory Road opens up. You instantly have access to every single HM without needing to have them on to use it. You can surf and dive out of Sootopolis City instantly, for example, and you don't even need a Watermon to do this. You can just do it on your own. And you can even talk to NPCs outside of every Pokemon Center who can just fly you to wherever you want to go on the map. The only limit to the exploration in the world is that you have to reach a town first before you can fast travel there, exactly like in Skyrim. And certain areas are locked until the end of the game or until post game. Aside that, you can start in any town from the Hoenn region and proceed for the region and beat the gyms in any order you want. And guess what, there's even more features to talk about Mega evolutions are in game, which I love. They do get unlocked later on, which makes a lot of sense. The best gimmick by far in Pokemon, actually, I really like it. So many more quality of life changes to speak of. Pokemon centers have many services such as move relearners and TMs that you can go by talking to the NPC there. Also, another really cool thing is when you talk to Nurse Joy, she heals your Pokemon automatically. Why don't more games do this, really? I don't like long animations. Most towns in this game have some kind of important quality of life feature, such as berry merchants, fossil revivals, EV training gear, TMs, competitive items, a lot of level scaling features that become available later on, that make you really feel like you're progressing as you play the game. Gym leaders can also be rematched later on for very nice rewards, actually incentivizing you to do these pretty hard optional boss battles. And another undoubtedly awesome feature is the alterations made to the Hoenn region in this game. Pre-existing areas like Scorched Lab are made to be way more expansive, giving you something new to explore and enjoy. I totally recommend playing this game blind without documentation to really incentivize exploring these new areas and just going in blind, just seeing what you can find. You'll be surprised at the level of features and polish added here. I was completely blown away in my first playthrough. Then there's even a big post-game, same old Battle Frontier, but with many new legendary events added, and a final super boss to fight, right after the Elite Four. Now, I have gone on so long about new features in this game, which is crazy, but the thing is, there's still a lot to talk about. But this is enough for this segment, as it's obvious this game is packed to the brim with sauce. Now, let's go to the interesting part of the video essay segment, explaining why exactly this is one of my favourite games in depth. Many of you will have played the popular ROM hack Pokemon Crystal Clear, and though that game was a real game changer in the ROM hacking world, being the first true open world Pokemon game which was very unique for its time, my huge problem with the game was purely because it was set in Gen 2, which I truly think sucks. The mechanics such as the janky EV-IV system are just so outdated, the balancing is way off, the Pokedex just sucks, and the graphics and soundtrack are really bad. Now, I'm not the kind of person to complain about graphics, but Gen 1 and Gen 2's graphics were so bad, it actually restricts your vision with its horrible interface. I'd go as far as to say Red and Blue in the original Gold and Silver are genuinely trash games by modern standards, like 2 out of 10 bad. Though Crystal Clear is definitely not that bad at all, it does polish the turd pretty well, given its limitations. It still has the Gen 2 issues at the end of the day. I will say the opening of Crystal Clear was actually really cool. That was one thing that was awesome. But the thing is, with Pokemon Emerald R.O.W.E, Crystal Clear is just totally power crept and replaced now. It's the same kind of game but just better in every way. Newer generation with good enough graphics that takes the good things that Crystal Clear implemented it and greatly improves on it while also adding much more to it, like a good sequel does to their predecessor. The first time I played R.O.W.E, I was just blown away. The main reason why is because it's exactly what I've been asking for in a Pokemon game, a true Pokemon role-playing experience which I've never gotten with any other Pokemon experience. I finally found what I was looking for. I adored playing open world role-playing games like Skyrim, Oblivion and Fallout. Non-linear open world games where you have player agency and can make your own decisions, with a lot of role-playing customization. Emerald R.O.W.E really gave me this same feeling. The insane customization in the opening is so fun, not only because the game starts off giving you meaningful choices that will impact your game a lot, but also just gives you so much variety and strategy to use. This really reminds me of Elder Scrolls Oblivion, which had a huge amount of player choice in the opening dungeon. What race did you want to play as? Which gender? What specialization? Which guardian stone? Which major skills did you want to start off with? They all made a humongous difference in your run. It made it so 50 people could play that game, and each will have a complete unique experience, just like an Emerald R.O.W.E. This level of customization also allows for pretty good roleplaying. In Oblivion, for example, you could roleplay as a mage, a warrior, a thief, something in between, a good person, an evil person, a madman who robs NPCs, maybe someone who hoards sweet rolls, or someone who abuses glitches to cosplay as a superhero, which is pretty funny as hell to do in that game. R.O.W.E. also has so many variables to manipulate and really makes it so it's pretty fun to talk about other people and what they did in their runs. It's pretty neat. Maybe you want to nuzlocke this game, maybe you want to do a monotype run, which is accessible with all the generations involved. Maybe you want to go crazy and make your party fully randomized for every battle you get into. What makes Emerald R.O.W.E. so fun is the fact that there is no direction in the game. It's fully open world with barely any limits. There's no longer any plot or mandatory cutscenes, no villains or rivals to worry about, no prompts or NPCs arbitrarily stopping you to tell you what to do. Once you put in all the options, the game instantly starts and you're instantly free to do whatever you want. No hand-holding. This time, you're your own master now. You decide what you want to do, where you want to go and how you'll go about beating the game. Especially if you're playing this game without docs and spoilers, it's really up to you to explore and make your own way. Incredibly fun for nuzlocking. This adds a lot of tension as there's actually stakes when exploring. If you lose, you wipe and have to reset the entire run. Not like other games where everything's designed to be done in a certain order in a certain way and it's pretty linear. Here, you're on your own and have to scrounge your way out of the early game and ensure that you're keeping up with the escalating level scaling, as the game will just get harder and harder as you progress. You don't know what the gym leaders will have on your team, and you'll have to choose, which ones do I fight first? Ideally you would want to fight the gyms first that you think will be more challenging, like for example Flannery, to prevent them from getting stronger later on, as they might become too much of a threat if you leave them. But maybe you don't have the right encounters for a specific gym and you want to delay it so you get better encounters. Maybe it's best to just ignore the gyms for now and go and explore more areas before challenging them again once you get more items and such. Levelless mode, one of the game modes you can choose, adds some pretty nice strategy to the mix. It has level scaling done right. Anyone who's played Oblivion knows that level scaling in that game was not done right, as it actively punished you for gaining levels, which is really weird. Emerald R.O.W.E. system works because it allows you to get stronger as you play by gaining levels, but you can never get too overpowered and just invalidate every trainer. This also adds some nice strategy because it forces you to team build strategically instead of just going oonga boonga I'ma gain more levels and just one shot everything. Early game you can get much stronger by finding really good TMs early like Giga Drain before the first gym, getting mons that evolve early like the barrel, and finding mons and items that really complement each other, giving you a strategic edge. The exploration makes it so you're really rewarded and incentivized to go out and just explore, talk to people, pick up items and just see what you can find. No other games really do this that much in Pokemon. As much as I love Pokemon Radical Red, it is a pretty linear game where in a Nuzlocke most runs will just play out very similarly. You're always doing the events in a similar sequence. In R.O.W.E. you can literally fully explore every single area in town in the game right before the first gym if you wanted to, which is pretty funny. You can get all like 50 or so encounters along with top tier TMs and really good items, just get a humongous advantage and just completely destroy the first gym if you wanted to, and we're actually willing to put in the early game work to do so. This reminded me of Dark Souls 1, where you start off your game at Firelink Shrine, then there's instantly several branching paths, each with very different difficulty levels and rewards, depending on which one you take. Usually most people would take the easier paths first because you're lower level obviously, but there's nothing actually stopping you from going to the later game harder paths first. Maybe you think it's worth taking the risk to get the better rewards earlier on. By removing any handholding and arbitrary barriers, it adds a lot of meaningful decision making and a really cool risk-reward dynamic, which is far more interesting than what most Pokemon games do, where the only way to progress in your run is to just go forward and carry on your preordained linear path. Usually in Nuzlockes, you never bother talking to NPCs and actually exploring, but here you're really incentivized to do that. Every town has very important services in them, making it feel like you're actually progressing for every new place that you discover, and you can actually fast travel to. It's kind of like building a new safe area in Fallout 4. It's like an exciting hub world. This game's equivalent to dungeons from other role-playing games. Caves and forests and such, they all have really good rewards like megastones in them, and more. I was so surprised when I explored the new and improved Scorch lab in this game and discovered there's a whole new area within it to explore, which I've never seen before. Also, Petalburg Forest is greatly expanded and is basically just a whole new area now, with so much more to do in it. It was also very fun being able to go straight away to Seafloor Cavern and Magma Hideout. There's no longer any plot in there, so you can just go in there and just run around and pick up some items. I feel like the difficulty scaling worked pretty well. Flannery, for example, starts off with a pretty easy team, but later on she has a full sun team with really good coverage, mega forms, and competitive items. To keep up with the difficulty scaling, you have to actually adapt your strategy and implement new things that you get access to as the game progresses. It's usually not enough to just level up and that's it. You'll have to play smarter too, which is pretty good. The last thing I want to mention about this game is the fact that despite its current quality already being extremely good, this game is still a work in progress. The game is getting updated very frequently with much more content planned. Just the other day, a new patch came out for this game, adding the first Sevi Island, which is just a humongous addition. You can now go to Island 1 straight away, from Fire Red. The fact that a Hoenn game has access to the Kanto region already, and that's the best thing. The developer is planning to add the entire Kanto region with the rest of the Sevi Islands, which is just wild. Having the entirety of 2 different games in one, plus even more extra content on top of that, is just mind-blowing concept. It makes a level of exploration far greater and provides so much more replay value and possible routes with 2 full regions, 16 gyms, and even more on top of that. It's like starting Elder Scrolls Oblivion, where you're at the center of the map at the start of the game and you have a more billion different places you can go to visit straight away, giving you a lot of decisions to make. This game can only get much better at this point. The last argument I want to make is, are there any issues with this game? Well, some. The main one was that the difficulty could have been much higher at times. Most regular NPCs in this game, normal trainers, become kind of cannon fodder once you know what you're doing. Though gym leaders are okay in terms of difficulty, they do scale in a way that's fair, not too easy but not too hard. This is a significant issue, as difficulty in role-playing games like this are really important for the experience. By no means does this game need to be Kaizo levels of difficulty, but without at least some decent challenge, it kind of removes a lot of the choice and need for preparation and strategy, when you can just mow down most of the trainers anyways, kind of dumbing down the game. A lot of the trainers in this game do kind of feel like glorified loading screens. Ideally, this could be like Fallout or Elder Scrolls, where most of the dungeons have at least one boss NPC at the end of it, giving you some kind of challenge to overcome that's pretty hard. Some dungeons, for example in those games, were genuine threats to do early on but had really good rewards. By making areas harder to explore, it actually forces you to be careful and consider your options. Maybe it's not worth risking your Nuzlocke to do a tough area early on, or maybe you want to genuinely take that risk of wiping. Without good difficulty, you're never really under much threat, and there's really not that much decision making or meaningful risk-reward process to go through. Blaze Black 2 Redux was one example of a game that actually did this pretty well at points, with the example of the Victini encounter before Gym 3. Berg in that game was a really hard gym leader, but Victini was a really powerful one that made that fight significantly easier. But if you wanted to get that Victini, you had to fight this really hard gatekeeper trainer. You have to decide in your Nuzlocke whether you want to risk losing mons, which you do not want to do early game, to this gatekeeper trainer, for the chance to be able to get that Victini, which is incredibly powerful for that point in the game. You need to decide if that risk is worth the reward. I would recommend for Emerald R.O.W.E a very hard mode. Probably hard mode, but just even more. To accommodate for this, to Make the game more of a challenge, but also change the AI to be less abusable. Make the AI similar to Radical Red CRFU, where the AI is actually quite intelligent. But this was my biggest complaint of the game by far. Overall, this game is wonderful and has the potential to be my top 3 favourite Pokemon games ever made. It's already a contender as it is, it's that good. If you haven't played it, then what are you waiting for? This is more than just a game, it's a full-on Pokemon role-playing experience with a whole world of possibilities. I hope you enjoyed this different kind of video, or more of a video essay analysis. It's far more thought-provoking than the standard Oonga Boonga Can I Beat challenge. Let me know in the comment section what you want to see next. I could showcase a run of this game that I did, or maybe do an in-depth analysis of a different game. Anyways, I will see you all next time. This is Chad Games signing out.